Oi punters, here in Australia, I could probably get sued for saying this next bit, but you're all thinking it, so I'll say it. Aussie politicians are corrupt. Now, I wish I was joking, but certain YouTubers have been sued for calling certain politicians corrupt. So let's just say I'm not calling any specific politician corrupt. What I am saying is that we Aussie punters perceive specific certain politicians to be corrupt. Hey, there's no allegation happening here. We just think it. That's all. And I'm just saying what everybody thinks. Now, while you're there, hit the subscribe and the bell icon. Would help me out a lot. We have some data. Australians' trust in politicians and democracy hits on an all-time low. Oh, sorry, that was back in 2018. I'm sure things are have gotten better since. Oh no, 2023, trust slumps, what, again? In government and media as division rules. Okay, so things aren't getting better. Now, I found the updated research, and this has been done by the Australian government. The data's there, guys. They did it themselves. They know it's in a manila folder in someone's office. Just go have a look at it, and you'll realize people think you're corrupt. So maybe do something about that. Nearly half of Australians, even nearly half, seems a bit low, I think. Nearly half of Australians aren't confident the country is on the right democratic path and perceive widespread corruption in our democratic institutions and processes. We punters are noticing what you are bloody doing, politicians, and we perceive it to be corrupt. Don't sue me. It's just a perception. Only half or less think that Australia performs well when applying the law impartially, giving people a say on government priorities, and conducting enough checks to ensure that politicians and officials can't abuse their power. According to this chart right here, we have Australia's worst ever corruption score that we've ever had. So this is global rankings on how people perceive their government to be corrupt. And we were at an all-time high in 2012, ranked 7th. And then, I guess, a change of government happened, and we slipped to 8th, 9th, 10th, and slipped to a bottom of, by the end of that certain government's run, we hit 15th, a record low ranking there. So it's safe to say, we believe ye to be corrupt. Now, they might look up innocently, hands in the air. What? Me? Why would they think we politicians are corrupt? Well, it might have something to do with this. The extent of job swapping between public servants and fossil fuel lobbyists. This seems a bit bad. Several high-profile cases have recently revealed the close ties that continue to exist between senior politicians, former political staffers, and the big end of town have had a real and lasting impact on the perception of political transparency in Australia. So we Aussie punters are noticing that politicians are becoming lobbyists when they leave office. Now, why might this be a problem? I'll say why it's a problem, and then we'll start naming and shaming some politicians that have made us think that all politicians are corrupt. Because boy, oh boy, there's a lot of them. I want to introduce you to two concepts as written about by Adam Lucas here. The revolving door and a golden escalator. So the revolving door is obviously what they described at the top. When a politician stops becoming a politician and goes and lobbies for the very industry that they used to make the rules for, and they go around. And they do this with political staffers as well. So not just politicians, but people that worked in their office. These companies, and we'll list them in a second, these companies poach ex-political staffers because they have connections, they know how the system works. And then all of this allows these industries to shape tax and regulatory regimes in their favor and drive major government and private sector investments in their own infrastructure. So they manage to convince the government to spend our tax dollars on whatever makes them rich. Now, which industries are we talking about that this revolving door is going on at? Well, it's genuinely the mining, energy, property, and gambling. Now, pick more destructive things to the Australian economy than these things right now. Your energy bills right now, you're getting shafted. Why is that? Because energy lobbyists are in the government's ear saying, no, everything's fine. Property prices, they seem pretty high. Should the government fix that? I bet they won't. I wonder why. Gambling, seeing more and more gambling ads on TV. Seeing your children at school coming home talking about the odds of a game. Well, is the government going to do anything about that? Probably not. And why is that? Well, because of something, and here's another thing called the golden escalator. This is where politicians, they get into office, and then after a couple of years of making the rules in a certain industry, they look out the door and they go, oh, I'm only making, 230 grand a year? That's not much. And some nice little gambling company or mining company sidles up to them and says, hey, would you like to make a couple of mil? And the politician says, why, yes. Yes, I would. And so this is where the corruption perception comes in. Well, I'll just list some things that happened, and then you decide if it's conspiracy or coincidence. So we've got Cameron Milner, a former Queensland Secretary of the ALP, Chief of Staff to Bill Shorten. He went and became the main lobbyist for the Indian mining giant Adani. There he is. Look at him. This is what it looks like when someone sells you out for millions of dollars. Hey everybody, I used to make the rules and be really connected with the Labor Party. I just got a new job because I'm the most qualified and totally not because of all the people I know in the Labor Party. Here's another one. Former Federal Trade Minister Andrew Robb walked straight out of his ministerial position in 2016 to take up a lucrative, I wonder how lucrative is, high-level consultancy firm for Chinese-owned company Landbridge. So hang on. This bloke here, in 2015, was publicly defending, selling this port to 99 years to the Chinese. I know it sounds controversial, but it's a really good idea. It's awesome. We should totally do it. I want to defend it. And then the very next year goes and becomes a consultant for the same company he defended. Conspiracy or coincidence? You decide. We're just talking perceptions here. I'm not saying he's corrupt, all right? And then we hit who I've mentioned before in another video. If you want to check that out, click it in the links below. I did one outlining, I think it was with Martin Ferguson, Ian McFarlane. So these blokes made the rules for gas companies. Right now, gas companies are getting our gas for free. Martin Ferguson or Ian McFarlane, one of them, made the rules that give them the gas for free. And then just weeks after, he goes and works for British Gas. And then becomes a chair on the advisory board for the APPEA. They are now known as the Energy Producers Australia Energy Producers. It's still the AEPA. They were the blokes that wouldn't let me in. So in another video, I tried to get into one of their events to see the politicians schmoozing with their future job opportunities, but I failed the security check and they wouldn't let me in. They called the cops and stuff. Anyway, check that video. It's on my channel there. And then McFarlane, meanwhile, becomes chief executive for Queensland Resources Council. Conspiracy or coincidence? These blokes make the rules and then go make millions in these industries. Would you call that corrupt behavior? I'm sure there's another way to describe it. No, I wouldn't use that word. No way. Oh man, this is overwhelming. These are these two blokes. Here's who they're connected with. And here are, I believe, their staffers, these green ones, these staffers, and who they got connected with. Queensland Councils, Energy Australia, Minerals Council, Arrow Energy, Coal Services, Australian Coal, Adani Group. These politicians have sold you out. Let's take a look at why our gambling is just rife with money laundering. Endless money laundering every single year happening. Why do we allow this to happen? Well, former Senator Mark Aribib, that's him here, he went to go and lobby for Crown Casinos. Former Howard government ministers went to work for lobbyists. Nick Minchin, Mark Vaile, Michael Woodridge, Peter Costello. Well, we all know him. So I can't even list them. They're all these boring politicians who I just even have no idea about. But they all went on to become lobbyists despite clear conflicts of interests. Oh, look at this. Here he is. They all kind of look the same, don't they? They all blend into one boring, bland millionaire sandwich. So he was, oh my goodness. So this guy's the Minister for Defense, right? Minister for Defense. Where does he end up the year after? So in 2001, while he's the Minister of Defense, Tenix gets an important supply contract. He retires in 2002. Where does he go and work? Tenix. I know this is legal, but it's really hard for me not to just call it blatant corruption. I know they've made it legal, so it's not corrupt. But this is blowing my mind. I don't know how many more different... Surely it's not happening now. Surely politicians these days Like, that was, 20 years ago? Surely we've changed. Surely there's no minister who made some big weapons deal with somebody and then went and worked to lobby for that for that weapons manufacturer. Oh, remember this guy? Ooh, it's ScoMo. Remember the AUKUS sub deal? Well, Scott Morrison reported links to UK defence job shows lobbying reforms needed. So there are reported links to an AUKUS-related job in UK defence. So old mate ScoMo leaves Parliament after getting booted, and he goes and works for a UK defence contract that is likely to have benefited from his massive AUKUS defence deal. Perfectly legal. I'm reminding you, and this is perfectly legal behaviour. Why don't they trust us? I could do this all day. Ex-Premier Mark McGowan. I'm just going with the big headline, the headline blokes that we all kind of know of. Mark McGowan joins Joe Hockey's consultancy firm in 4 new private sector roles. So Marky McGowan, he just didn't take one lobbying job. Oh, no. He took 4. And one of them is with MinRes. So Marky McGowan makes all these rules for mining companies in WA. WA has a lot of mining. And then he leaves his job and goes work for the sector that he was responsible for making the rules of. So punters, you're getting screwed by property. You're getting screwed by gambling. You're getting screwed by banking. You're getting screwed by mining. Every sector that is breaking you and we punters and our Australian economy seems to have politicians working directly for them as lobbyists. And I want to show you what this actually looks like in practice. This is independent MP Monique Ryan, and she's asking Albert a question about everything we've kind of spoken about here, and watch the reaction and how it gets handled.
My question is for the Prime Minister. I understand that you attended a $5,000 a head post-budget dinner last night.
Must be good.
Can you tell the House whether any fossil fuel industry lobbyists or other fossil fuel industry representatives were in attendance?
Would you like to know the answer to that? I would. Great. Let's go.
I've stood and had the great honour of being the Australian Labor Party candidate in 10 elections. During those 10 elections as a candidate for Grainler, I have spent less money on those 10 campaigns than the member for Kooyong did in her one.
Hold on. So, are you outraged at just watching that flippant dismissal of a legit question as to why does your government suck? Are you... Hey, were any fossil fuel lobbyists in that meeting with you spending $5,000 to kind of control your policy that you're making because something's not adding up? Oh, well, I spent less money than you getting re-elected. Like, that is disgusting. That sheer dismissal. This is that. Right there is why Australians' trust in politicians and democracy is at an all-time low. That right there. Since then, there was the introduction of the National AntiCorruption Commission, which we would not have gotten if we didn't have a Labor government. So the Labor government did, in fact, introduce a National Anti-Corruption Commission. The problem is that it's secret. We don't know what they're hearing. We don't know who they're discussing, and we don't know how they're handling the cases. And if we don't know and we can't see who is being investigated for certain things, how are we supposed to have any more trust in the system? And I'll have to do another video on later on how the NAC is doing, or the SNAC is doing, because so far it hasn't done nearly what we would have hoped it would do to reduce corruption. So punters, hopefully I didn't depress you too much. A lot of information in that. I'm just a punter trying to piece this all together. So fact checks welcome, citations necessary in the comments below. And massive thanks to we the punters over on Patreon. These are the punters that keep me free from the algorithm, the slippery slope of the algorithm that tries to incentivize me to make more sensationalist content. But these punters go, no, Conrad. Make videos on topics that are actually important, not just the ones that get clicks. So thanks to the punters over there. Share this with a punter who might not know how scammed we're getting, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers, punts.